Hello everyone, my name is Rolando de Leon, and today I want to talk about dot plots, or scatterplots. Specifically scatterplots that use doves, as you can see here. Oops. As you can see that we already have the correlations for these scatterplots, but we can't really do anything with these yet. Doves right here helps us identify and how to correctly read these graphs, these scatterplots. Doves is actually an acronym, and the D stands for direction, whether it's positive, negative, or if it has no direction. U is unusual features, such as any dots that might be a little too far away. F is form, whether it's linear or non-linear. And then finally, the S stands for strength. The strength can actually be negative, 0, or positive. The farther it is away from 0, it is either going to be moderate or strong. Again, if it's positive, if it's moderate in the positive direction, if it's 0, and let's say we're looking at it as a line graph. If it's still a little to the right, then it's moderate, but it's positive. And again, once we are more farther away from the zero, we're going to be strong positive. And if it's moderate, if it's, again, let's say we're looking at it as a line graph, and it's going to be moderate, but in the negative direction. We could also have strong in the negative direction as well. And make sure when you're identifying the strength to use like Lee words, like strongly, negatively, moderately. All right, and let's go ahead and get into this. For the first graph, we can see that the points are scattered. They're really everywhere. And for this one, it doesn't really have no direction. It doesn't have any direction. For unusual features, there really are none, or you could say that the whole thing itself is unusual. Again, for the F, for form, it's nonlinear. It doesn't follow any structure. And for strength, it's weak because it is 0. Anything that's 0 is weak. Again, if it were a little farther away from the 0, whether it be positively or negatively, it would be moderate. And if it was even farther than that, it'd be strongly positive or strongly negative. For the second graph, we can see that it is actually negative because it's already here. This is our correlation, which would be our strength. For the U, there aren't really any unusual features. I mean, I guess you could say this, but this is probably here because it's, again, following a negative. It's negative, correct? As I said, for the direction, right? So we could say it's like this. And for the S, the strength, it's weak. It's moderate, actually. It would be moderate because it's a little far away from 0, but it would be moderate in the negative direction. For this third graph, we can see the direction is actually positive. You see, compared to this one and the other two, this one is actually positive, unlike this one. As we can see, let's say you wanted to draw a line. It kind of follows a path that's a little more rightward, sort of as if it were a graph that were heading in the positive direction, which it actually is in the positive direction. Any unusual features? There aren't really any. To be honest, all the dots are kind of together. And for the form, it would actually be, I would believe that this would be a linear graph. I'm sorry, a nonlinear graph, because the dots are, again, they're all scattered. They're pretty much everywhere. I mean, you can see that there's a form, correct? Because it is positive. But, I mean, it's not really that identifiable. For this graph, we can see that it is, if you, let's say you wanted to draw a line, you can see that there is some direction, correct? For the direction, actually, it is actually negative, as we can see here. it says negative 0.7. Oops, let me go and write that again. It is negative 0.7. Unusual features, I guess you could say that there's this is a little far away, and that would be called an outlier. Correct? And for the form, it's sort of linear, you know, it has some shape because, again, we can identify that it is in the negative direction. The strength, it's moderate, but again, it's in the negative direction. For the fifth graph, we can see here that, let's say, again, we wanted to draw a line to kind of identify where it is. And we can see that the dots are kind of together, correct? And the direction here would actually be positive. Again, we can see that it's 0.9 there. It's already there for us, correct? Any unusual features? There aren't really any. Again, all the dots on the scatter plot are sort of together. You know, there isn't anything that's alone. For the form, this one would be linear. This one would be linear. Again, if we wanted to draw a line, we can see that there is some like formation. That it is following kind of a line, correct? The dot, there aren't really many dots that are outside of where I drew the line. Most of them could be considered that are inside. The strength, again, it would be, this one would be strong actually, because it is very, very close to the 1. Earlier I said that if you were to see this on a graph, like sort of a line graph, you would see that depending on where you are, you know, your correlation as well, you could see whether something is strongly negative, moderate, weak, or strongly positive. And I wanted you to see it like this, so I went ahead and drew it for you. You see, the closer we are to the 0, we're going to be weak. The closer we are to the 0 again, but like we're a little far away, we're either positive or we're negative. But that would be considered moderate. And for the last graph I just did, which was the 0.9, we could say that we're strong positive, right? Because we're close to the 1, but we're a little far away from like the moderate. For the last graph, we can see that the direction is actually negative. Again, it's already here for us. And let's say we wanted to draw a line. This one is very most clearly heading downwards in a downwards direction, which would make it negative. Unusual features, again, this one is really, really like a line. There isn't really much wrong with it. For the form, it is linear. This one is very, very clearly linear. Again, line, you want just like a line test, you can go and do that, and you can see that it very, very clearly follows a structure of a line. The strength, this one would be actually strong because it is very, very close to the 0. It's very close to the 1, as I mentioned earlier. Lastly, we have this little game. It's just a guess the correlation game where you go and plug the number of sample points that you'd like into this website. And from there, you can guess the type of correlation that this is. And you can go and do that if you have the time or if you're in class.